Most people don't realize that digital real estate's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Once you start merging real estate with blockchain technology, the opportunities are endless. And so many people have wanted me to elaborate on why I believe that and how it's going to change the world. And so recently I was on a podcast with my good buddy Steve Trang where I discussed this topic much more in depth than I ever have. And whether or not you believe in crypto or Web3, it doesn't matter. If you're in real estate, you need to be aware of what is going to happen in the coming years. So if you're in the industry, I think you're going to find this really valuable and be ahead of the curve.
I've noticed that not only have you learned this, you've talked about it so well that you can speak it in a way that makes sense to people.
Yeah, I'm trying to simplify it, I'm actually speaking at All in Freedom tomorrow about this concept. And my vision is, if I can educate people on what's to come, like there's going to be people who say it's stupid, it's not going to happen. And there's going to be people who really buy into it. And they're going to be digital tycoons. Like that's the gist of it. Like you buy in and you understand what's happening. If you can't lose if you buy Bitcoin at $500, back then. In the interim, yeah, sure, it's going to be volatile and that's what it is.
Ups and downs.
At the end of the day, 5 years from now, I can promise you digital real estate is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Yeah. So we're in a collective genius together, and I got a chance to be in the room when you were explaining your vision of like the roadmap of where this can all go. And unfortunately, you won the belt again. I didn't really enjoy that part.
By the way, I've never lost.
So 3-0, whatever. Anyway, can you share a little bit of what you're talking about as far as applications? Because you really blew some people's minds.
Yeah. So, man, how much time we got, dude? I could talk about this for days.
I got an appointment at 5:30, so we got an hour.
All right. So, I tried to kind of speed through what Tykes was because, I didn't know how many things we were going to talk about. But, okay, like digital real estate. Let's talk about this. As far as how people perceive it today, they would be thinking that it's about Metaverse, right? And Metaverse is just one piece of digital real estate, right? You guys probably, if you're in crypto at all, you might have seen like the Bored Ape Yacht Club just sold plots of land in their upcoming Metaverse.
Yeah,
it was the largest like NFT drop ever. It sold over $300 million worth of land. Absolutely insane. And there's other ones like Decentraland and Sandbox and these things, right? And the way that they are right now is kind of a mix of like The Sims, Fortnite, like you can go in there, you can run around, you can, do things. They're very much in the like first inning of what they're going to be. The ninth inning, in my opinion, or not even the ninth, but maybe like the fifth inning, probably looks a lot like Ready Player One. If you guys have seen that movie, right? Like people are going into the metaverse, they're hanging out, they're doing things, they're working. And I see that happening for sure at some point. I don't know how many years away that is, but whatever. The eighth and ninth inning maybe look like what Elon Musk is trying to do with Neuralink, where you instantly can just tap into the metaverse and that's how it goes, right? So if you understand that with that framework, as far as it goes to real estate investing in this metaverse land, you don't really need to think of it other than how we invest in commercial real estate today. Because, there are plots of land and they each have their own value, similar to how we look at land today. How big is the land? What's it near? What metaverse is it in, right? AKA what city? It's very similar in that way of like, okay, what is the value of this thing?
Yeah.
Now, as far as how do you make money on it? Like that's the first question. Well, just like commercial real estate, you can do whatever you want. You could lease the land to somebody else. I could go throw a billboard on the land and have it be an advertisement. I could go lease the land to somebody else. I could lease a billboard. I could develop it into a giant building where, I sell stuff inside of it. I could develop it into, a club where people go and attend, like whatever. Like I could make it a gaming, a casino. The possibilities of what you're going to be able to do with the land are like literally limitless because it's just code. You can code whatever you want on the land. And
whatever you can imagine.
Yeah. And so, at the end of the day, if people are going to be there, that land will have value and it's going to have value based on the same principles that real estate has value in the real world. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what makes it valuable? Anyone can go create metaverse land. It's infinite. And It's somewhat true, but like the example I always use is like in the real world right now, land is pretty infinite. Only 10% of the land in the world is actually used. Okay. So there's a reason, I live in Vegas, you live in Phoenix. There's all this land in between Vegas and Phoenix, and it's literally like worthless.
It's just desert.
It's just desert because nobody's there.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a bunch of metaverses that are made in the interim, but nobody will be there because there's only so many people who are going to participate in the metaverse.
Right.
Just like social media, right? There's a bunch of social medias that have happened, but there's only the ones that people participate in that people go to. There's network effect.
My MySpace account's still doing really well.
Yeah, your MySpace is killing it because no one's there, right? So at the end of the day, there will be metaverses that try, but then there's just going to be the ones that actually have all of the people. Like Google, right? Like everyone uses Google to search something. They develop a monopoly, and there's going to be metaverses that end up being kind of the monopolies.
Is Pinetaverse going to be a thing?
Dude, it just might be. Tykesverse, you never know, dude.
Yeah. So, all right. There was a couple different applications that you mentioned that I thought were interesting. First was blockchain title, right?
Yeah.
And everyone that talks about blockchain and real estate, like that's like the first or second thing they bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the opinion that there is so much money in title that you'll encounter a lot of resistance against it. It's probably a 3 to 5 year away thing at least.
Yeah. I
What
agree.
is your thought on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, like I'm saying, is have a 3 to 5 year time horizon. But yeah, I mean, chain of title, right? Like the way that we transact real estate is so dumb because it wasn't less than 10 years ago that most title companies, you'd go sign at the title company. They would then go take your signatures to, the county recorder's office.
Mhm.
They record it by hand. And then, however long it took them to process it, then you own it the next day, whatever, right? And also, too, you got to make sure you wire before 1 o'clock, whatever. And they have to receive it by 3 o'clock to go then do whatever.
To record it, yep.
Yeah, like it's just, and you can't do it on weekends, right? Can't do any of that. Well, later on, they started to realize, like, okay, we don't necessarily have to go run it down there anymore. We can do an e-filing now.
Mhm.
And so that was like, oh, that's a nice change. They can just
Save this an hour.
Yep. And so that was like pretty new. Then, COVID happened and it was like, well, we can, we don't have to have a notary at your house. We can actually just do a virtual notary. And it was like, yeah, like all these things are just continuing to grow technologically. And so the next apparent evolution of title is going to be on the blockchain. And for those of you who don't realize this, the reason you get title insurance right now is because, they're doing a lot of work to make sure that the person who is claiming to sell you this home does in fact actually own the home. They got it legitimately. They are who they say they are and all this stuff. They're also giving you title insurance to make sure there are no other liens against the property and like any creditors or anything like that. And so that's why they get to charge a really high fee along with charging you for escrow and all these other things. Well, all that goes away the moment you start putting a house on the blockchain. And once it's on the blockchain, it is apparent who owns the home. Okay. I cannot buy a house from Steve without Steve actually sending it from his wallet to me.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it eliminates so much fraud. Like somebody else can't pretend to be Steve because they don't have Steve's wallet, right? Like they don't have any of the stuff. Only Steve can send me the home, and it's just publicly recorded on the blockchain. And once they start allowing that, and they start allowing people to, record their liens on the blockchain against the property and all that with smart contracts, then it just eliminates all of this need for title insurance because it's all right there. Everybody can see it.
Yeah. So it's just a matter. I mean, we talk about 35 years, but I think before it's like normalized. But as far as ultimate conversion, we have to put every single property on the blockchain. I mean, this could literally be like 40, 50 years before we get every last house.
Yeah, I mean,
on the blockchain.
Look, if you go to like some older places, they still do title in the ancient ways of doing it, right? Like they they've yet to adjust like other major metros have. But you're going to see places like Miami, who is trying to be the hub for all things crypto.
It's fascinating that they're leading that battle.
Yeah, I would guarantee you they will be the first people to start putting all of their real estate on the blockchain.
Well, I think for good reason, because that's probably the city that needs it the most.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of fraud and stuff going on there.
They got a little bit of like, where did this money come from situation.
Yep.
In that particular city.
So yeah, that's gonna happen. But yeah, you look at that and title, and that's the easiest use case. But a use case that I tell people about, I was actually speaking at an event about 2 weeks ago for a fund. And I said, dude, the funds are the biggest beneficiaries of this technology with crypto and NFTs. Right now, like I just talked about my 2 funds with Pineda Capital and Creator Properties. When people want to invest with us, they know going into it that, hey, this is going to be a 3 to 5 year deal. Like they sign paperwork, they understand that their money is going to be tied up until we either sell it or we refinance and get all their money out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're okay with that. Like they know that going into it. But, the biggest downfall is that there's a lot of people who don't invest with us because they don't like that, right? Those who are cool with it, they're cool with it. But there's a bunch of people who are like, dude, I love the deal. I don't love that I have to tie my money up that long. Well, if you were to start NFTing the shares of a fund, it eliminates that issue. And here's what I mean. Instead of Steve giving me $100,000 for this property we're buying in Arizona right now, by the way, we still got some slots open if you want to invest.
Appreciate that.
So if Steve wants to give me $100,000, typically right now, he would give it to me and like, it's cool. He's going to go be in our portal and get his dividends and all that stuff.
You got to wait 3 years.
But you got to wait to get your money back.
Yep.
Right? But if I gave him an NFT instead and said, here's your NFT for all your shares, and it's worth $100,000 today. Well, a year from now, let's say the market continues to be red hot, it's going up. We're doing a good job as operators. We're getting the thing stabilized even better. It's going great. And all of a sudden, your shares are now worth 150 grand. Well, you have the choice at the very least to go put it up on the market to sell those shares, or to, keep them, or whatever you want to do, right? Maybe you just need the liquidity because, you got a good opportunity or things hit the fan, whatever.
Yep.
Or you think the market's going to crash and you're like, dude, we need to exit right now. Well, you can go put it on the market. Somebody else can go buy it and you get to exit. For us as the operator, we don't care.
Right.
It doesn't affect us what you choose to do with it. So it's a win-win all the way around. And guess what? The moment you start making something that's illiquid, like a fund, liquid, dude, I mean, it's going to pour more money into real estate.
Right. It's going to be a lot more valuable. So I imagine you've had a lot of conversations with attorneys about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the things that, and you probably already figured this part out, the questions that go through my head, right, is how did depreciation work?
Yeah.
How does accreditation work?
Yeah.
How does the 3 touches work?
Yeah.
So is there anything you can expand upon in those regards?
With accreditation and everything else, in order for you to go sell that NFT, you would have to use a third-party source to transact it to make sure that the person you're selling it to is...
So this is not going on OpenSea?
No, it ain't going on OpenSea. There are, and I'll say this, there are people that are going to do this without realizing that what they're doing is illegal. I've already seen it on the internet. People are talking about NFTing Airbnbs and all this stuff. And like, yeah, anyone can buy in and you can share in the profits and you can do this. And I'm like, yeah, you can also go to jail.
Yeah, they're waiting for a knock on the door and some people in suits.
Yeah, because you can't do that. That's a syndication. You're selling a security.
As a securities, it's not fraud, but it's a securities violation, and they don't mess around securities.
No, I ain't trying to deal with that. Like, look, I've already started multiple funds. Like, I understand what we're supposed to do on the security side, and I understand how it's supposed to happen on the crypto side as well. And so, yeah, for me, there's definitely a thing called Know Your Customer. And so it's interesting with blockchain because in the crypto world, anonymity or being anonymous is like a very important thing.
It's not even a real thing. We've learned with people that have done some really illegal activities, have been very much been busted in real life. So that anonymity is kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And so like a lot of people value that, and that's fine. But if that's you ain't gonna invest in real estate. It's just not gonna work. You have to like you said too, for the depreciation benefits, like they gotta know who you are. Like, so
you can't fire an IRS tax return if you're anonymous.
Yeah. So all those things are going to make it more mainstream, and I think Web3 and crypto will not be what it is currently down the road. It will be much more organized, and I guess call it corporate, whatever.
Centralized.
It will be much more centralized, but it will still be decentralized in that people have the ability to do what they want with their stuff. So
that's really fascinating. If they want to find out more about what you've got going on there, how do they get more information about that?
Yeah, so go to tykes.io, tykes.io. Join the Discord. If you get on an email list, we'll email you when we're going to drop. I mean, there's already so much demand for it because it just doesn't really exist with this. You know, the biggest thing I get asked all the time is they're like, okay, Ryan, I agree with you. And this is what they asked us at CG too. They said, I get it. Like, this is the future. How do I learn more about it? And I'm like, well, you can't really, like, I'm kind of like probably the most known guy talking about it.
Yeah, you're pioneering it.
Yeah. And that's actually our slogan for Tykes, by the way, the pioneers of digital real estate.
Yeah.
But it just made me realize, like, in all my businesses, whenever I see a problem that doesn't have an apparent solution, that means I can create the solution, and, you know, we can make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? You're going to have the solution. Give me some time.
Right.
And that's why we're building up Tykes. Like, I want it to be the premier mastermind for guys like Steve, guys like Kong, who was here earlier, guys like, you know, who are in the Web3 space but love real estate, and bring them all together in this place and let smart people develop businesses, invest, do things together that are going to change the world.
Yep, absolutely. I'm excited for that. So I was out in your office back in December, and we're kind of talking about some of the things that I'm working on. And you mentioned what you're most excited about was Wealthy Way.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so Wealthy Way is amazing. It's kind of like this way of life that I've been living for a while, but I just didn't know how to like formulate it and like make an SOP for it. Because I just, you know, it's just like, these are my philosophies on how I think you should live life and how you should, you know, do business and how you should take care of yourself and handle your faith and your family and all these things. And the more I started thinking about it, you know, because I kept getting all these questions over and over again. They were like, dude, how do you like run all these companies, stay in shape, still have time to golf, you know,
get paid to golf, not go golf, get paid to golf.
That's true. The Wealthy Way doesn't cover that. But, you know, go hang with your family. I was in Malibu last week just with my family. Like, they're like, how do you do it all? And I would start to like try and explain it. And I was like, this is like way too much for a conversation.
Yeah.
And so I started writing it down of like, okay.
It's a philosophy.
Yeah. So I started writing it down, and I came up with the Wealthy Way. That was what I called it. And I was like, you know what, man? Like, this is going to change so many people's lives. Like, I don't want to charge for it like I would for any other course or thing I create. I'm just going to give it to everyone for free. So, like, I created this entire course. There's literally no upsells. There's nothing. Just going over what the Wealthy Way is, how to live it. You know, basically, I created this acronym called WEALTH. You know, it stands for worship, education, affluence, lifestyle, team, and health. And essentially creating goals around each of those categories, you know, kind of our core values as wealth builders. And it's been great. I also created a software, basically, that is my morning routine planner. Basically, it has like a journal. It helps you set all your goals. It lets you write things you're grateful for, you know, weekly goals, yearly goals. It helps you track it every single day. And once again, the stuff didn't exist. Like, it's not like there's not a journal out there that does all these things, nor is there a software out there that you can just use for free. And I was like, I just went to my software team and I'm like, let's just create it and just give it away. So we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a Discord community, and we're adding a ton of other stuff to it. In fact, I mean, I'll reveal it on here. Like, I'm actually going to be changing my podcast name to The Wealthy Way. Gotcha. Because I'm just so passionate about it. And like, you know, on that podcast, once we make the official switch, you know, I'll be interviewing a lot of people, not just in business. Like, dude, I want to interview the best health experts. I want to interview the best, you know, faith-based people, you know, the best pastors. I want to interview people who are just living really cool lives, you know, and then of course there will always be business and there will be, you know, all these things. But yeah, that's what I'm really most passionate about. And
an element of Joe Rogan in there.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, I think with those guys, there's not really like a philosophy. It's just like, yeah, we interview cool people. Whereas The Wealthy Way is like, look, if you stumble upon this podcast, we actually have a blueprint of how to live the wealthy way. And it's all free. So go check it out.
That's awesome.
I don't think I plugged this, but for those of you who said who want to go to Wealthy Way, it's just wealthyway.com to go get all that.